Hey, Rio family, I want to take a couple of minutes to talk to you about something that you will have the privilege, the opportunity, the responsibility to vote on this November when you go to the ballot here in the state of Florida. It is an amendment to the Constitution of the state of Florida, which is a huge deal, and it's called Amendment 4. But before we get to that, I want to talk just about voting in general for a second. For the last quarter century, for the most part, every time an election has rolled around, I have said the same thing, and I'm going to say it again now. I really believe that biblically it is our responsibility as citizens of a nation that gives us input into who governs us, for us as believers in Jesus to take advantage of that and to vote. Voting matters. But here's the catchphrase to it. For the last 24, 25 years, I've said we are to vote, and we are to vote Christianly. That is to say, we are to vote as people who joyfully embrace the awesome and amazing reality that Jesus Christ, by his life and suffering and death and burial and resurrection, has purchased us for himself, and that he owns us. And by the way, that plays its way out in practical ways in our lives. It means that he owns me, and in this sense, it means that he owns my vote, which means that it is my goal as an act of worship to my Lord to go to the ballot box with the options that I've been given, whatever they may be, and to vote in accordance with his heart and mind and soul and values. My vote belongs to him, and so I seek to express it in a way that would bring honor to him. It means that I look at people and I look at candidates, but I also look at parties and I look at platforms and I look for issues that the Word of the living God speaks to, and I'm amazed at just how many the Word of the living God speaks to. And then I seek to align my vote for those people and those parties and on the issues outlined and stated in those platforms in such a way that, okay, I'm seeking to align it with the Lord. And neither party and no people are going to do that perfectly. I understand that. But I'm looking at these things biblically and I'm saying which person, which party is most likely to introduce the least amount of evil into this country in which we live, and which person or party is likely to try to protect, to try to preserve, maybe to cultivate, maybe even to introduce the most amount of good. And I go to the ballot box with that in mind. Now, as that applies to Amendment 4, Amendment 4 has to do with abortion, and we do not need to wonder what the Lord thinks about this. The Bible, from beginning to end, is a pro-life book. It comes to us with a pro-life God. And the biblical ethic, if I can just put it in a phrase, in regard to the unborn, is simply this. It is that unborn people are people too. And more than that, the Bible makes it clear. Go to Exodus 21, starting in verse 22, that it is the responsibility of the born to protect the unborn legally. The Lord calls us to look after unborn people. And he tells us that they're people. And not only does the Bible say that, but science says the same thing. I'm not saying that scientists would vote a particular way in regard to this amendment, but I am saying that science itself agrees with the scriptures. Listen, for example, to what renowned French geneticist Jerome Lejeune says. He says to accept the fact that after fertilization has taken place, a new human life has come into being is no longer a matter of taste or opinion. Dr. Jaime Gordon of the Mayo Clinic says that by all the criteria of modern molecular biology, life is present from the moment of conception. Dr. John Stott says that unborn children are not becoming human, but rather are growing into the fullness of the humanity that they already possess. Well, that's our experience as parents. It's our experience as people. And once they're born, what do they continue to do? They continue to grow into the humanity that they already possess. And incidentally, science has indicated to us that the human brain does not stop forming and developing until the age of 25. So the reality is that from the moment of conception until sometime after their 25th birthday, our kids, everyone we know, all of us either were or are in this state, this process of developing into the humanity that we already possess. And we are no more or less human at any stage of that process, either before we're born or after. So with that in mind, I want to read to you this amendment and point out why I think it is massively problematic. It is a threat to the unborn. It is unmitigated. It is unmasked. It is unvarnished. There's no hiding this. It says this. It says that no law shall prohibit, penalize, delay, or restrict. So hang on. It's eliminating any kind of limitation or restriction in regard to abortion. And now look at the phrases before viability. Why is this a problem? It's a problem because it's an amendment to the Constitution in the state of Florida, and it comes with no definitions. Look at all the other amendments. They define the terms. These terms have been left intentionally undefined so as to create no restrictions and no limitations at all. So no law shall prohibit, penalize, delay, or restriction of abortion. Okay, before viability. What does viability mean? Because they don't say. And so viability could be determined by the patient's healthcare provider, which I'll get to in a second, to be all the way up to the day of birth. But if that's not a big enough loophole, then just continue to read. It says, or when necessary to protect the patient's health. Okay, well, what health? What does that mean exactly? Because that too has been left undefined, and I'm sorry, on purpose. So let's say that I'm a pregnant woman and I am super stressed out about having a baby. It's affecting my mental health, perhaps, so that qualifies. And here's who decides. As determined by the patient's healthcare provider, it doesn't even use the word doctor, though that would not be, frankly, good enough for me. Healthcare provider. This could be a staff member at the local abortion clinic. And don't think for a second that minors are exempted from this. Listen to this. It says, this amendment does not change the legislature's constitutional authority to require what? Consent of a parent or legal guardian before a minor has an abortion? No. To require notification. So they're like, well, I mean, if you want to be notified that your daughter is going to have an abortion, the legislature has the authority, if they desire to do that, to require notification, but not consent. Guys, children in our school system here in the state of Florida, by law, can't get a Tylenol from the school nurse without express written permission of the parent. No one in the state of Florida under the age of 17, so 16 and under, can get a tattoo, period. Doesn't even matter what their parents think. But once you turn 17, mom and dad need to sign off on it in a very official way. I mean, I can give you example after example after example after example of minor things that this state absolutely requires parental consent to. But what this amendment, if enacted, will do is it will remove any restrictions or limitations on abortion at all, and it will make abortion available to everyone at any stage in the pregnancy, for any reason, and even to minors without the consent of mom and dad. That, to me, is an abomination. It does not make sense, and it does not align with Scripture. And frankly, even the folks that I know that are in favor of abortion are in favor of abortion only under very limited circumstances. And so I speak to you as well if that's where you find yourself today. I think that you also should vote no on this, because this will remove all restrictions. So guys, please know that I love you. I'll be praying for you as you consider all of the issues and candidates and so forth, including this, as you head to the ballot box this November. And I would ask that you join me in voting no on this amendment. God bless.